Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another review. Up today it's a very elegant Bachmann steam locomotive. As part of their spring 2021 announcement, Bachmann revealed a new run of their popular Jubilee class. And the funny thing is, I bought one in a few months ago to review and I hadn't gotten around to it. And I thought now that Bachmann have announced a new version of the model, it might be nice to take a look at the one I have and see whether it's any good. So it is indeed a Jubilee class. It's in a very, very smart livery. Looks very much like an LMS livery, but you can just about tell from the tender that this is a transitional British Railways livery, but it's still got the lining on it, which is fantastic. So the RRP for this model that I have in my hand was £169.95. Seems quite a lot of money. I bought mine from Model Railways Direct for £79.95, which just goes to show what absolute hogwash the Bachmann RRPs are, classic Bachmann tax. But the new Jubilee from Bachmann has an RRP of £199.95. As far as I know, they haven't retooled the Jubilees. It is more or less the same thing as I have here, as far as I know. If anyone knows any different, please do let me know. So for £79.99, I don't have massively high expectations for this. I think as long as every area is modestly acceptable, there shouldn't be any problems with this. For £200, as always, it's difficult to imagine how excellent this would have to be. So this is either going to be entirely in line with my expectations, or it's going to blow me away the way a £200 model should. Well, let's find out. This should be a good time. I love the LMS 460s, I love the Stania 460s, the 10-wheelers. So let's get this out, let's find out what it's like. So if memory serves me, I did review a Bachmann Jubilee quite some years ago. I think it was a weathered one. It was in sort of a BR green with weathering. It wasn't really my cup of tea, to be honest, the weathering, that is. I think weathered locos look ultra realistic, and obviously if you want to model with any sort of realism, you will want to do some weathering. But I don't know, I just like locos looking their best, personally. I think that's just personal choice. So I expect this one is going to be much more my cup of tea. It's also a more current model, so I suppose this will be a more accurate representation of what the Bachmann Jubilees are really like if you were to buy one today or something. Okay, so let me show you the end of the box. You can see the product code for mine is 31-190. It is a Jubilee class number 45575. Madras is the name of this one. It is a named engine, and it is in the British Railways lined black, and it has the 21-pin DCC socket if you wanted to chip this. And speaking of the British Railways lined black, look at that, even through the front of the pack. It just looks amazing, it really does. I love that, I love that. Not many locos in my collection have this particular sort of livery, so I'm really looking forward to this. Anyway, if you are interested in the Jubilees, or the Jubs, as they're sometimes called, I think, there is some history on the back of the box, so feel free to pause and read that if you're interested. Although, as always, a potted history is on the way in just a few minutes. First though, shall we get this out? I'm really interested to see what this is like. I could not believe what this cost me, £79, when the newest lot come for £200, or, you know, realistically perhaps 15% down from that, but it's still sort of half the price that you can expect to pay these days. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully though, hopefully it will be a very, very impressive model. I think visually it's going to be, isn't it? It's the mechanism that's got me worried. And speaking of that, the paperwork here might show what's going on inside. So this is the exploded diagram with the list of parts down on the bottom left. I can see straight away that the motor looks to be Bachmann's standard motor without a flywheel or anything. And I can also see what look like square bearings there on the chassis. That does not sound great for a model with an RRP as high as this. However, hopefully there are bearings on the axles which fit into slots that you can't see on this image. Hopefully. Knowing Bachmann, that's not a given though. And then on the back, this is more useful, I suppose. You've got a bit about running in. It says this is suitable for nothing tighter than second radius, which should be fine. Body removal for the loco and the tender. Lubrication, fitting the various parts, DCC and DCC sound. So it's got all bases covered. Hopefully this does have, well, if it's talking about sound, probably the decoder socket is in the tender, isn't it? And then what's this? Product maintenance and care. So this talks about running in, cleaning and maintenance. It's much of the same, isn't it? Lubrication, all of the usual stuff, more about warranty. Okay, right, that's cool. So let's start dissecting this and see what it's like. I did notice there are some nice little add-ons in the accessories bag, so we'll start by taking a look at those. In the first bag, you've got these. These are optional etched nameplates, and they are really nice quality as well. Take a look at those. So if you really wanted to soup up this model, they would look amazing, although there are just some, I suppose they'll just be plastic nameplates on the model already, so it is complete. That's good, that's really good. And then what have we got in the accessories bag? Quite a lot, really. I can see vacuum pipes, cylinder drain cocks, brake rigging for loco and tender. There are steps, what looks like a close coupling drawbar. Look at that short drawbar. So if you've got really realistic curves, you could swap the one fitted to the model with this, and the coupling between loco and tender would look way, way better. And also there are some glazing pieces as well. So does that mean the cabs are not glazed, or is that just an option to model open windows or something? I guess we will see. All right, well, that's pretty cool. Quite a lot not fitted to the model, but then again, some parts might have fouled up the front bogie or something if they were fitted, so that's a possibility. Right, let's take a look at this. Wow, core blimey. So bear in mind, I've only ever seen the Bachmann Jubilee in weathered condition, which will cause the model to lose the factory satin finish. But this one really does look superb, doesn't it? Look at that. Can you see? I hope the camera can do this justice, because there is a real sheen to the boiler, and even the coal in the coal load is shining quite nicely. I never used to like Bachmann coal. I always thought, you know, it's too shiny, it doesn't look right. But I'm warming to it, I must say. I think it just looks flashy, doesn't it? All right, let's take a look at this thing then, see what this is like. All right, well, beautiful is the answer, I think. Absolutely gorgeous. Really do like the look of this. It's pretty heavy. It feels very, very heavy, I must say. I believe the running plate on this model is made of metal, and that's what contributes quite a lot of the weight. I can see that there are glue marks all over this, though, which isn't very good. Yeah, all over the boiler. I'll have to show you. You won't see that, I don't expect, on this shot. But that is really poor, actually. Oh, what a shame. And I suppose that's the big pitfall with such ridiculous RRPs from Bachmann, because if you find something like that, it just makes a mockery of the whole thing, and things like that really are going to put people off buying Bachmann. But I must say the livery looks fantastic. The level of detail looks alright, although I will get some close-ups so we can find out more about that later on. For now though, let's have some history on the Jubilees, and then we will take a close look at this loco in all its glory. Okay, let's do it. So the Jubilee was one of several 460 designs for the LMS by William Stanier. 191 Jubilees were built in total between 1934 and 1936, which was roughly the same time as the slightly better known Black 5 design was being built. Unlike the Black 5s, some Jubilees received quite decorative crimson liveries, earning them the nickname Red Staniers. The Jubilee was effectively a Patriot class, so I understand it, fitted with Stanier's tapered boiler, but only the first 5 Jubilees were converted from the Patriots. The remainder of the class were purpose-built to the new design. The class was initially quite disappointing in its performance, apparently, so much so that the design would be revised, altered and upgraded quite considerably over the years, leading to 10 different boiler variations and different designs, various different bogies, varying smoke boxes and a selection of different tenders as well. Over time, it is said that the performance did improve, although the crews reported that they preferred older locomotive designs to the Jubilees. General withdrawal took place between 1960 and 1967, and a very reasonable 4 examples have been saved under preservation. So there it is, up close and personal for you, the Bachmann Jubilee. And I'm in two minds about this one, because obviously it looks gorgeous. The proportions of the model are fantastic, the overall finish is beautiful, the lining and the decoration is done to an incredibly high standard, and if the model was in perfect condition and the quality was there, I think I would be a real fan of this. But as it is, I'm a little bit disappointed in the build quality of this, to be honest. There are a couple of issues that I've noticed straight out of the box before I've even tried the thing. So yes, you have got the multitude of glue marks, which are all over the body, really. They're all over the boiler. and the firebox as well. So obviously whoever assembled this had glue all over their fingers, and they put their fingers more or less all over the body as well, which is just not acceptable from a manufacturer who controls all of their own factories and who charges what they do for their models. I've also noticed that there is a part of the valve gear missing, would you believe, so that the valve gear is actually loose and free to move. When I saw that, I thought, oh, that's it, it's over, the model isn't going to work. But floating around inside the cardboard sleeve, which I had to dismantle to get it out again, was this little part. And I'm showing you this now before I've tried to fit it back on, or before I've even tried to remove the body and the base keeper plate, because the latest fad from some folks is to try and blame me whenever a loco doesn't work properly. They say that I've caused the damage or whatever when I've removed the body. Now, I do flatter myself, I do, but honestly, I've been doing this long enough to unbox a loco, to remove a loco's body and the base keeper plate without damaging it. I mean, for goodness sake, I'm used to having a loco in 100 different parts to repair it without damaging it. I'm really not in the business of making such amateur mistakes as that. And if I was to make a mistake, I would own up about it, because it's not in my interests to make my videos unrepresentative of models. So come on, haters, you've got to come up with something a bit better, a bit more intelligent than that. So yeah, after I've filmed the detail, I will try to put this back on, and hopefully the loco will work. But as it is separate from the model. An optional detail which was not supposed to be optional. Anyway, let's take a look at the loco itself. Let's take a look at some of the decoration then. So on the side of the cab, and yes, there are some strange scratches on the side of the cab, although to be fair, I have only noticed those through the viewfinder. It's really strange, but from where I'm sitting, you cannot see the scratches at all. Somehow the camera can from where it's positioned. Yes, go figure. But the decoration is really, really nice. You can see you've got the lining, which is sort of double lining with two different colours. Looks like a cream and a maroon. Same on the die-cast running plate. I just think this looks fantastic. I really do like the lining, and it's done well. It's done well wherever the lining appears. On the cylinders as well, you can see very, very nice, accurate lining. Bit of lining on the boiler. It's not a fully lined boiler or anything, but just where the smoke box joins the boiler, and then when the boiler joins the firebox, you have got the lining there. Oh, and also in front of the cab. I just noticed that too, so that's lovely. Buffer beams, nicely painted as well, and they do have metal sprung buffers fitted. I'll show you that. There we go. You've also got the nameplates. These are not the separately fitted optional nameplates. These are the ones that actually come fitted to the model. Obviously, they don't look as good as the etched ones, but they're perfectly fine as a stand-in, and if you're not comfortable fitting your own parts, they will do the job quite adequately, I would say. Further on the subject of decoration, you do have the cab, which is quite an impressive cab in some aspects. I mean, it looks like a lot of the pipework and the controls are separately fitted, so they stand out and they look very three-dimensional as opposed to just a wall with moulded detail on it. And the painting is pretty good as well. The different components are painted in the different colours. You just don't have any of the paintwork on the gauges and such, which some truly premium models do have, but not on this case. And I guess we can start looking at some of the details now. We'll stick with the cab. Up on top, lots of riveted detail, and you've also got the opening and closing air intake, which is very stiff, but with a little bit of care, you can get that to open and close, and you can pose it however you like. There is some glazing fitted to the model as standard, so you don't have to worry about that. I assume you could fit some more to the back windows if you wanted to model those closed though. So yeah, it's quite nice that you've got the option there. Separately fitted handrails around the cab, and also this posable tender fall plate, which is obviously also separately fitted. Along the boiler, quite a lot of detail going on. You've got the separately fitted handrails, the separately fitted pipework, and also a separately fitted reversing rod, which has been blackened out, which disguises whether or not it's made of metal or plastic. But because it is blackened and because it's parked in quite a shielded space, it doesn't really matter too much. It looks the part, and that's all that's important. On top of the firebox, you have the separately fitted metal safety valves. I love the fact that those are metal. That's very good indeed. And then you've got the whistle, which I believe is made of plastic, but there is some attempt to make that look a little bit more metallic. It doesn't quite match the safety valves still, which is a pity, but it looks a lot more metallic than some plastic whistles do, so I will give them some credit for that. Along the running plate, you've got quite an array of different detailing, as you can tell, and I do also really like the finish of the running plate. It's incredibly metallic, isn't it? Very, very good. You get some cracking reflections off that. At the front of the running plate, you've got the lamp irons as well, which are pre-fitted. And then above there, you've got the nicely detailed smoke box door with the separately fitted dart on it as well. And Yes, this is an example of a Bachmann steamer that has an opening smoke box door. No detail behind it, unfortunately, like some of Bachmann's creations have, but the fact that the door can actually open like that is quite incredible, if you ask me. And that does afford some pretty interesting modelling opportunities as well. I love it. I love seeing a ladder modelled up the front of a loco with the crew cleaning out the boiler or whatever. I think that's a really cool thing to do and something you can do with this model. Okay, so you've got the NEM coupling fitted to the front bogie and also the back of the tender. I might as well cover that now. I'm sure when fully assembled and correctly assembled, the valve gear would look fantastic because the rods are very nice and fine. I don't like the crank pin solution on the centre wheel because quite clearly that is just a screw. I'm not sure why Bachmann still do that of their models. They go to so much effort to make every aspect of the loco realistic, and then you've got a visible screw right bang on the side where everybody's going to notice it. So yeah, I think they need to fix that really, and even their newest releases have got that. And then as you can see, the wheels are cast wheels. I believe they're metal and they've got a lovely finish. They have been blackened, as have the axles. The axles are not dreadfully realistic looking. I think Hornby have still got Bachmann beat on this area. However, they do look better than they would if the axles were unpainted and shining through, as with Helgen's locos, so that's something. The tender is quite a decorative one, actually. I do love the variation in the livery. The red part of the lining expands out to cover the handrail area at the front, which I think is a very interesting little stylistic choice. The finish on the tender is beautiful. You've got a real metallic shine to it, even though the tender is plastic and quite light, incidentally, as well. Not much weight to the tender. The underframe looks good, lots of moulded detail going on there, and of course if you wanted to fit the brake rigging that would add an extra dimension. And you can see we've also got a water scoop fitted to the underside too, which is lovely. There is a close-up on the coal load, which again is, I believe, the die-cast piece that fits in there. And it does have that quite shiny finish as well, which won't be everybody's cup of tea, but it's got it nonetheless. Quite a lot of detail around the tender, and then at the back you've got some minor printed details, including the LMS builder's plate, I assume, and I can read the bottom one because it's a bit larger, that's water capacity and such. And then you've got all of the usual separately fitted steps and lamp brackets on the back, as well as more metal sprung buffers. I ought to show you those again. Ooh, sprung buffers. Yeah, I'm unashamedly a fan of sprung buffers. So yeah, the level of detail's great, isn't it? Had the quality matched it, I think I'd be pretty happy at this point. However, for the £79.99 I paid, it's an insanely good deal, not taking the mechanism into account yet. If you double that price, and sometimes more than double it, is it worth it? Well, I don't think so, but obviously that will be up to the folks that are buying these things. So I'm going to investigate the mechanism. That's the part I'm dreading, because quite a lot of Bachmann's steam locomotives don't have great mechanisms, at least in my book. So I have a sneaking suspicion that that will be the case with this, but I will find out. I will report back in just a second, and then of course we'll give it its first run, after I've damaged it all and made sure that it doesn't work properly, of course. Okay, let's give that a try. So there she is, the overall beautiful Bachmann Jubilee down onto the track, ready for the first test. And unfortunately, where the mechanism's concerned, it is the typical Bachmann trope of a loco looking great on the outside to sell models, but under the hood it's a very bare bones, poor quality mechanism, presumably there to save money. And I sincerely hope, for Bachmann's sake, that the new £200 Jubilees have all of the issues I'm about to describe addressed. If anybody gets one of the new Jubilees, please do let me know whether or not that is the case. But even so, this Jubilee I have right here had an RRP of £169.95. At that price, or anything close to it, none of this is acceptable. I will start off with a positive though, because the weight is quite good due to the die-cast running plate and other metal parts. So loco and tender weigh in at 333 grams, and most of that weight is in the loco. The tender is very, very, very light indeed. That is actually more than the Hornby Black 5, though a little bit less than the Bachmann Patriot. So the loco to tender drawbar is a poor design. It's commonly seen from Bachmann, but basically they're not screwed together. There's just a little plastic nub that hooks around the drawbar and that keeps the two together. The problem with that is that it's very easy to uncouple the loco and tender accidentally when you're lifting up the model or perhaps putting it on the track, and then it is really just the wires holding loco and tender together, and it's very easy to do damage, so that needs to be addressed. Now, despite the electrical connection between loco and tender, that's there because the DCC socket is in the tender, there are no tender pickups on this model. As we know, tender pickups are invaluable and they are ubiquitous on quality models. This doesn't have them though, which is lazy and perplexing. So the base keeper plate is attached to the loco with just 3 screws, fairly easy to take that off. There are no spring-loaded contacts to connect the pickups, but the wires are at the back so that you can lift up the base, which reveals that not only are there no bearings on the wheel set, which again is a very cheap omission, but pulling out one of the axles reveals the square bearings cut into the chassis, which is the lowest of the low. That's unforgivable, isn't it, really? The chassis, as you can see, is a very tidy but very bare bones chassis. This is just a 3-pole motor with no flywheel, and I've found that these motors are quite unpredictable. Some of them run absolutely excellently and they will easily rival a good quality Hornby 5-pole motor. Others run poorly, they can't crawl and they've got no torque. I haven't tested this one yet, so I will be very interested to see which category this one fits into. You can see though it's fairly tidy. There are no sort of capacitors and resistors bodged onto the body of the motor. There is just one capacitor across the terminals, which I think is acceptable. I took this opportunity while the body was off to fix the valve gear. The stray piece actually went back into place very easily, but then I decided to test whether or not it would come out very easily again, and it was quickly obvious that the piece is not a good fit, which explains why it came out in the first place. So I did apply a small amount of glue to the part and I've put it back in. Hopefully it will stay there. The gauging is okay though. I measured 14.5mm back to back on each axle, and the flanges are relatively small, which makes the front to back gauge fairly reasonable as well. So it's at this point where I would usually go on a bit of a ramble about how unacceptable this is for the money, but it's the same story with more or less every loco from Bachmann I've looked at over the last month or two, so I'm not going to do that. You know the drill. But if I got a good example of a motor, this could still run well. It hasn't been run at all yet, so any unreliability from the lack of tender pickups shouldn't manifest itself until quite a few hours in. So let's give this its first test. Does it actually work? Has my little fix on the valve gear done the trick? Well, I think so. It's done several rotations there. So it's working and the valve gear is intact, which is pretty good. It seems reasonably smooth. I mean, there's no flywheel action because there's no flywheel, so if you cut the power, it will just stop dead. And of course, you are likely to get the odd cutout because there are no tender pickups. No excuses, Bachmann. Okay, right, so the performance seems okay. To say it hasn't yet been run in, I should add. How is the crawl straight out of the box, though? Let's give this a go. Is there going to be any cogging? It's a toss-up, really, with these. Right, so if I slow it down a bit more, yeah, overall, I can't really see any cogging there. Oh, right, a bit more. So perhaps a tiny little bit of cogging there. That is reasonably controlled. It is pretty slow. To say this hasn't yet been run in, that's reasonably impressive given how poor the quality of the mechanism is. And that suggests to me that yes, the motor inside this example is a good one. Thank goodness for that. How's it backwards? Single wheel drive, by the way. There's a gear on the centre axle, centre driving axle. And you can see that axle starts to turn before the rest. Okay, that's absolutely fine. No issues on straight track at all then. So let's get this run in, 30 minutes in each direction. Let's watch it on the curves and let's see how it handles Gordon's Hill. Let's do this. Forwards it goes, 50%. So at this point it seems really nicely geared. That's a very sensible speed for half power as far as I'm concerned. I say for now because as a loco runs in you can sometimes see a bit of speeding up, so perhaps it will be more of a racer after that. There's really no way of knowing, is there? But for now it seems to be handling curves fine, which is very good news. No slowing down, so that means the gauging of the axles and also the torque of the motor are more than adequate and they're allowing the loco to run normally, which is great to see. Yeah, overall, considering the horrible state of the mechanism, I'm reasonably impressed with the performance of this. So I will see you after running in has completed. Keep your fingers crossed, hopefully there will be no more failures on this. And I'm really curious to see how this looks with a load. Hopefully it will look superb. All right, see you shortly. Okay folks, well, that was a pleasant surprise. It has run incredibly well, given what a poor quality mechanism it has. So yeah, nice constant speed. In reverse, I have noticed the odd slowdown, which is a little bit concerning, but doesn't seem to be doing it too often, so I'll keep an eye on it, but I don't think it's a red flag. No derailments, obviously, no particular slowing down on curbs or anything though, so that's really good. And the pulling power seems to be quite decent as well, 0.29 newtons, which is actually a little bit more than the Bachmann Patriot, even though that loco was slightly heavier. So yeah, that's really decent. Okay, what's the crawl like now? It was okay before, wasn't it? But let's see if it's managed to improve on itself. Let's see. Yeah. That's all right. That's, I would say, smoother. That's smoother. It didn't kick in at a dreadfully low speed, but then maybe I was too fast on the knob. There we go. Wow. Yeah, that is really good, isn't it? You can see that it's kind of cogging at that speed, and I think it's probably cut out there. So I have seen better crawlers, don't get me wrong, but it's more than adequate, isn't it? Yeah, it's impressive given what's hiding inside the body. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice runner, very nice. Okay, so to test my claims of pulling power, in fact, well, it doesn't really test it because there's only 6 coaches there, but it should be enough to show how the loco performs with a load. So let's reverse up. Now let's go couple to them. Okay, so this one is pretty controllable. All right, there we go. Hopefully that was a successful coupling. Are we ready to go? Forwards, 50% speed, which actually looks pretty good for this loco. There she goes. Seems to be handling them just fine along the straight. So on the middle line, I've decided to run my other Bachmann Jubilee class, which I've had for many years. It is disappointing to see that it hasn't been upgraded at all, as far as I can tell. But yeah, this is the BR Green weathered one that I talked about earlier. This is actually a more complex livery than the BR Black one that I've just reviewed. But I must say, I think Old Madras still wins it for me. I think that livery looks better, if you ask me. But yeah, this one's, again, it's a good runner to say what the mechanism's like. There you go, it's got some chocolate and cream coaches. And then on the inside line, I have the Bachmann Patriot. And this is actually an example of a loco with a poorer motor. This actually runs on the same motor, as far as I can tell. I think it runs on the same motor as the Jubilees, except this one has plagued me ever since I got it. And in fact, this one can't be fixed without a new motor because the little tabs that hold the motor together are getting weak, and it can't be opened again without those tabs breaking, or at least that's what I'm frightened of. So if I set this to 50% speed, there you go, that's 50. It's still working, but it's on its last legs, I think. I have to turn it up to sort of 80 odd to get a good speed out of it. And there is an odd one out in the sidings today, so see if you can spot which one that is and comment it down below. And here comes Madras now thundering up Gordon's Hill. Let's see how it handles the curves. Yep, still no slowing down. Not on the curves and not really on the Gordon's Hill section either. And it is a beautiful looking model, isn't it? I really do like this. In fact, the only thing that's really stopping me from recommending this wholeheartedly is the mechanism. But then again, it is working well, isn't it? So it really is your call on that one. I can guarantee you will get a beautiful looking locomotive out of this, but what I can't guarantee is how long the thing is going to last. As far as looks go though, it's superb. The finish is lovely, the level of detail is excellent, isn't it? And it really is a very convincing piece of kit as it runs around the track. Yeah, I'm a fan, I am a fan. It's not a 100% thumbs up for me, but overall I do like the Bachmann Jubilees. It's not something I've got any control over, to be honest. Let's have some ratings then for the Bachmann Jubilee. Yeah, overall it's not far from being a recommendable locomotive. I suppose depending on what you look for in a model will depend on whether you agree. If you're not too worried about the mechanism and the performance, then at the price I paid, this is quite a compelling purchase. The level of detail though, I have given 5 stars. Now I did say that I'd seen better cabs on other locos, but that's nitpicking really. I don't think that detracts enough to change the 5-star rating. So the decoration is lovely. The finish was really, really good as usual from Bachmann. Loads of separately fitted parts. You've got the metal safety valves which have a lovely finish. Yeah, the level of detail is fantastic. Can't really fault it. The performance, particularly taking into account the mechanism, is rather impressive with this. It runs very constantly, even up Gordon's Hill and around the second radius. Yeah, it's very, very good actually. It's not the greatest crawler in the world. I have seen locos that can crawl better than this, and those are the locos that get the 5-star performance marks, but yeah, all things considered, it's pretty good. The pulling power is alright, it's nothing special, 0.29 newtons, that's around 19 coaches on straight and level track. That is higher than the heavier Patriot from Bachmann. I think that's due to the fact that the weight is focused on the loco and less in the tender with this example, but I still have 060 tank engines and little shunters that are more powerful than this, so it's not a powerhouse, but it's more than adequate, I would say. The mechanism, I'm being generous here and giving it 2 stars. No tender pickups, poor drawbar design, no proper bearings on the axles, square slots cut into the chassis to act as bearings, so-called bearings, 3-pole motor, no flywheel. It does, however, have a modern 21-pin socket, which is compatible with some of the best decoders out there, so at least it's got that going for it. The quality then is 3-star. There are some great aspects of the quality. Generally, I like the die-cast, that's very good, and the quality of the decoration is great as well. There are a few issues though. The mechanism lets it down, so that it loses a star for that. The valve gear dropped to pieces before I even got the thing out of its box. Your mileage may vary on that one, but that was my experience. And of course there was glue all over the body, which was hard to capture on camera, but looking at the thing in person, it is quite noticeable in certain lights. So 3-star on quality. Value for money then. Now I have to ignore the latest Jubilee that has the £199.95 RRP, because Bachmann could have improved the model for the latest release. I haven't seen any evidence for that, but I don't know for sure, so I'm having to go on the actual prices of the model I have here, which is what I do anyway. So that's £169 RRP, ridiculous. £79.99 is what I paid from Model Railways Direct, which is also ridiculous, but in a good way. So we'll split the difference. We'll give it 3 stars. 169 would be sort of 1 or 2 stars, very poor. 79 is 4 or 5 stars. It's a very good price. I don't think any are available for 79. It was in a sale or something, but let's be real, £79 is more like what this is worth given its mechanism. At any sort of high price, there is absolutely no reason for such a poor quality mechanism to be fitted inside here. I don't want locos that are just going to stagger through the warranty period and then die on me in a few years' time. I want locos built to last, and when you pay £100 and possibly £200 these days, that's exactly what you deserve to get. Overall though, that's not a bad score. The level of detail definitely dragged this one up. 7.03 out of 10. Let's pop that into the logbook. There it is, 16th place above the Porter side tank from Bachmann and below the Bachmann Class 20. Bachmann sandwich, anybody? Well folks, thank you very, very much for joining me for yet another review. Please do comment down below and let me know what you thought. Are the downsides deal breakers for you, or is this something you would pick up? And if so, what would you consider to be a reasonable price for the model, all things considered? I've enjoyed this one. Yeah, it's been really nice to revisit the Bachmann Jubilee. I'd basically forgotten all about the one I reviewed years ago, so yeah, it was pretty cool to have a bit of a catch up. For now though folks, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the review as always. I will see you very, very soon for some more videos. But for now, I'll say take care, look after yourselves, and I will see you on the next one. Alright, cheers everybody, take care.